Doppelgangers are creatures that are exact doubles of a living person. Unlike other localized legends, doppelgangers are one of the few creatures that have gained infamy worldwide, with alleged reports and stories coming from all over the globe. As my first video, I thought I'd share my experience with a doppelganger. Back when I was in high school, before my father retired, we sometimes arrived home at the same time. After a while, my father and I started making a game of who got to reach the house first. Many times we'd be neck and neck, with my school bus and his work service dropping us off at the stop a couple streets from our house, just a few minutes apart. We'd spot each other and start walking really fast in a sort of race, until one of us reaches the gate, which was our finish line. On one of these occasions in my senior year of high school, the bus had dropped me off a little later than usual. There was heavy traffic between my school to our house that day. The sun still hasn't set, but was just about to. I proceeded to walk, but when I was just a street away from our house, I felt my gut telling me to look behind. I did, and I saw my dad was just a few houses behind me. He was looking and smiling at me, but said nothing. Now, my dad had won our last little race, so I felt I had to reach the house first this time. And him being a short distance behind me, I knew if I walked faster, there was no way he'd catch up. Getting closer to my house, I looked back to gloat at my victory. My dad was smiling, but he wasn't trying to catch up like usual. He was walking slower too, his face looking straight at me, with his smile unmoving. I reached the house gate, and before opening it, I looked at one last time at my dad, who was still around 3 houses away, still walking slow and still looking at me, but no longer grinning. "I win," I yelled to him, but his expression was unchanged. I thought it was odd, but I assumed he'd just given up. My mom knew about our little tradition of racing to the house and had laughed at us before. As I entered the main door, I was greeted by my mom. Before I had a chance to brag about how I won this time, I realized my father was behind her in the living room couch watching the afternoon news. I was confused. What? How did... Huh? My dad barely acknowledged me. He was concentrated on the TV, and I just stared at him in disbelief, but my mom noticed I looked bothered. "You're late today," said my mom. "What time did Dad arrive?" I asked. "About an hour ago." This didn't make sense. Who did I just race down the street with? He wasn't even that far behind me. I could see his face and everything. It was clearly my dad. He even wore his usual uniform and wore my dad's favorite belt bag. Some of our neighbors were outside. Did they see him too? Or was it just me? I was freaked out about it for a while, but time passed and I forgot about it. Until a few years after I graduated and just started working. One of my co-workers was watching a show about paranormal stories during lunch on his laptop, and this episode featured doppelgangers. I remembered my little experience racing with one and was curious, so I watched the show with him. The show described doppelgangers as parts of the original person they're duplicates of, but with that said, close proximity to the original person is a warning of danger. The duplicate and the original must never ever meet. It made me wonder, did my presence on the street block my dad's doppelganger from coming closer that day? Did it stop smiling when I looked back because it meant he couldn't reach my dad? Today, thankfully, my father is alive and well, and I've never seen his duplicate and hope to never see it ever again.